Am Yisrael Chai. Well, it has been quite a dramatic 48 hours, and I know that in our community and across the Jewish world, we'll be feeling a mixture of both anxiety and also hope. Anxiety because we know that right now missiles are being fired at Israel, where many of us have friends and family, and we've just heard the very sad news that 6 people have been killed in Bet Shemesh in a strike, missile strike there. And so our hearts go out to all in Israel who are facing that bombardment. And in addition to communities across the Middle East, in countries across the Gulf that have been the target of Iranian fury and violence and vindictiveness. And it is that violence and vindictiveness which have got us really to where we are. At the same time, there is a bit of a sense of hope that with the death of Ayatollah Khamenei and the potential dismantling of some of the parts of his regime, there is a new chance for the region, a chance where the end of the threat of an Iranian nuclear program, of its ballistic missile program, of its seeding of terror proxies around the region and indeed across the world, and an end to the persecution of the people of Iran. It seems quite pertinent that we're about to mark Purim, a festival that marks the actions of a tyrant in Persia who sought to sow violence and chaos across his region, who persecuted his own people, but was ultimately a victim of his own hubris. And it's at this time, of course, that we say, and this is in the book of Esther, as the days when the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month that was reversed for them, from grief to joy and from mourning to a festive day, to make them days of feasting and joy, and sending portions one to another and gifts to the poor. May we hope that we move from these difficult times soon to a time of better hope, not just for us, but for across the region and across the world. As a result of the situation in Iran, we've slightly altered our program today. We've got Efrat Sofer, many of you will know, a deputy, but also an expert in Iran who's going to say a few words about the current situation and offer an opportunity for a discussion on that. That's going to replace the discussion on Jewish Culture Month, which we'll do in about a week's time or so online for deputies. Really excited about that program, but we thought it was appropriate to give us a bit of extra time to discuss and process the current situation. So I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I've got a few announcements to make. First of all, I would like to welcome a few guests, observers that are with us. A few weeks ago, I was delighted to visit, among my visits, West London Synagogue. And I'm delighted that Harry Lightman, who is 12, celebrating his bar mitzvah next year, and grandmother Naomi heard what I had to say and wanted to see a Board of Deputies Plenary in action. So we have an under 13 observer this time. We're going to look at expanding that scheme in different ways, but you're most welcome, Harry and Naomi. And also, I'm really delighted to welcome another observer, Etan Moore, from the right over there, giving us a wave, from the Finchley Ubbers. Something that we've been looking at over recent weeks and months is how we engage better with the Israeli community living here in the UK. I know we've had over the years many deputies who happen to be Israeli, but we're looking at how we can better relate to Israelis resident in Britain. And we're delighted that Etan is here to be with us. So you're most welcome. I have a few announcements, some condolences first of all to Deputy Sylvia Hartman on the passing of her son-in-law Joel Bleiberg, to the Abulafia family on the passing of Professor David Abulafia, and to Jack Feldman on a family bereavement that's just come through today. I don't know any more details, but we'll share them when we get them. Also, refuah shelema to Naomi Tabmore, to Jerry Lewis, and to Julian Berman. And some mazel tovs, which is the end of the shop that we most like. Mazel tov to our Chief Executive, Michael Uyghur, on the birth of his first grandson. And a big thank you to Michael for sponsoring today's Kiddush, which was sumptuous. Thank you very much. Mazel tov also to Finchley United Synagogue, which is celebrating its centenary this year. Mazel tov to Joy Wolf on the birth of her 8th great-granddaughter. Mazel tov. To Sheila Givob on the birth of a granddaughter, Bella Rose. To Gordon Globe on the bar mitzvah of his grandson, Dov Tuvia. To David Pearl on the marriage of his daughter, Lucy Beth. And I have a bit of personal news as well, that in May, my wife France and I are expecting our first child, which is of course both exciting and nerve-inducing, and looking for all the tips I can get. I think this is unprecedented in the sense I don't think we know of any president who's actually had a child whilst in office. And so there's nothing really that tells us how to do it. But as often, we build the plane while we fly it. I'm going to, with your leave, probably take about 6 weeks off just to make sure I'm taking care of mother and child. So you'll be in the capable hands of the team here, particularly in the May and July plenaries. And then you'll have to forgive me. I'll probably take a few less overnight visits for a few months afterwards. But thank you very much for your good wishes. Thank you very much. I'm delighted that we've got a few new deputies and under 35s who've joined us since the beginning of the year. Ashley Cohen, a deputy for JLE, which we're delighted to have on board as a new member. Charlotte Peakle is a deputy for Kehillat Otzion Manchester. Harry Sassoon, the under 35 observer for Kehillat Otzion in Manchester. Talia Supran, the deputy for Jewish Blind and Disabled, which we onboarded not long ago. Stuart Abrams-Humphreys, deputy for Harlow and Chelmsford Jewish Community. John Olbrich, deputy for Menorah Cheshire Reform Synagogue. Sam Goodman, an under 35 observer for Finchley Reform Synagogue, who I know is here today. Michael Salad, deputy for Finchley Reform Synagogue, and Adam Dixon, a deputy for Darlington Hebrew Congregation. It's great to see the board in such fine spirit. And welcome to those of you for whom it is a first meeting. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass back over to Louise to take us through the business of the day.
Thank you very much, Phil. And it's really good to see so many deputies here today, together with the deputies on whom we are at a very important, perhaps critical time. And it is good to see so many deputies involved. I have a number of housekeeping items I must draw to your attention. First, the fire alarm. The fire alarm goes off, you have to stay where you are, and we will be rescued by JW3 staff. I'd like to say again thank you to Michael, our Chief Executive, for sponsoring the very nice kiddush that we've just had, in recognition of the birth of your grandson. Thank you very much. And I'd remind deputies, I'm sure I don't need to, be polite and no slander, please. Meeting won't be live streamed, but it will be recorded, will be available in a few days. And I remind you that we do have members of the press on the call. And for deputies on Zoom, please remember to have your name on your iPad or whatever other equipment you're using. I would like to encourage people who haven't spoken before, speak, and just to you that if you wish to speak, when you come up to the microphone to speak, if you haven't spoken before, please go towards the front of the queue and you will be called. I remind all deputies to adhere to the accessibility guidelines, which are included in the information, which means speak clearly, the camera on if you've got Zoom, and don't put your hand in front of your mouth and mumble, which I'm sure that you're not going to do. I'd remind you too that we are start in the middle of a vice presidential election, and so a reminder to the candidates standing that you're not allowed to speak in this session. Thank you. We move now to approval of the minutes of the 18th of January. Is that agreed? Agreed?
Yes.
Yes. And now we move to the open forum, which Phil has already drawn to your attention, where we're going to be looking at the very important situation, the current situation in Israel and Iran. And we're very fortunate to have our speaker, Dr. Efrat Sofer, who is Deputy of Spanish and Portuguese Synagogues, but also an expert on Iran and the Gulf states. So, Efrat, could I invite you to speak?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Phil, and B'Shar Tova. I have, for the record, offered to babysit, so I stand by that. And Durudaz Hamegi, everyone, welcome. And I feel like I'll be making a very short, it could be a Dvar Torah meets defense, I think, this morning. The timing couldn't be more poetic. I will keep it short so that we can keep our discussion going. I think it's a much better thing to do. But we have seen over the past just over 24 hours or so a very, very historic, and I've been saying that word a lot recently, but it indeed is a very historic time where we saw beginning in first thing yesterday morning, Iran's top 40 leaders eliminated within the first few minutes of the operation that has been codenamed Epic Fury. We have been seeing a build-up, and I'm sure everyone has seen this, a build-up of military powers around the region while negotiations were going on at the same time. And we at the Jewish community have been aware of the Iranian threat, of not only Iran's nuclear capabilities, where I could probably have my SMP colleague Richard Sassoon lecture us on. He is the scientist on this, and he is the expert. But we have seen Iran perpetually making agreements and then reneging on them. Iranians are the masters of negotiation, and that's not to be underestimated. We've been seeing at the same time Iran rebuilding its ballistic missile capability at length, even after the 12-day war, which is an existential threat not only to Israel, but as we can see now, to its Gulf neighbors, to its GCC neighbors, and as we have seen this morning, its range is capable of reaching Europe. We've also seen the Islamic Republic working on intercontinental ballistic missiles, which would have range to also hit the United States of America. So the US and Israel did launch what they say is a preemptive strike, which is very much a preemptive strike. And at the same time, as we saw at the beginning of January, the Iranian people have themselves shown unbelievable bravery. And this has been a conflation of not only the most flagrant of abuses of human rights, where I think in daytime we're being broadcast, they have been the most brutal depression of the protests. And we've seen reports of treatment of Iranian prisoners, where they have been designated muharibs, or people who are rising up against Islam, and that warrants a particularly horrific death and a particularly horrific treatment before execution. And this is something that I feel isn't being adequately discussed in the media. Most recently, we have also seen the Iranian leadership having its own power struggle internally. And we should be looking at that in more detail now that we've seen the death of Ali Khamenei. I don't think many people will be missing him. He is a brutal dictator and is responsible not only for the deaths of thousands upon thousands of Iranians, but also British servicemen and women, American servicemen and women, Israelis, and people from all over the Gulf. And so something to watch going forward, and I will tie up a couple of things, is to see how this escalates within the Gulf itself. I think Iran has made quite a fatal mistake, and it shows, I think, its desperation to hold on to power in firing missiles at its neighbors, at Iraq, at Qatar, at the UAE, Bahrain, and others. And so it's we must watch that space. And something that we've been monitoring with my World Jewish Congress hat on, so I helped to head the task force on Iran and Islamist extremism, and Phil and I work on that very actively, is we need to be monitoring the safety of Jewish communities around the world. There is a concern that IRGC cells have been mapping and have been very active vis-a-vis Jewish communities around the world. And that means we need to be aware, not alarmed, but aware. And this is where I think the Board of Deputies have served especially well in speaking and having a very close dialogue with our own security services and making sure that our government is aware and is keeping us safe. So I thank the honorary officers and Phil for that, and I look forward to working on that in future. And this is something that us as a community, I think, need to keep our eyes very, very wide open to. And this is where also making alliances with our neighbors, with other communities, is something that is not only admirable, but also very, very useful for the cohesion of our communities. And so, yes, so from going to the global to the local, I think we'll open up the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, would any deputies who'd like to ask questions or to make a comment?
Simon Gordon online.
Right, Simon Gordon online.
Oh, hello?
Hello?
Very quick question. The UK said that a preemptive strike is not allowable. Can someone have a word with the rabbi, or not the rabbi, sorry, Mr. Hermer from Cardiff? Because I don't understand his position. If there are 20 terrorist offences in the UK and they have weapons that might destroy us, I don't understand why we can't get him to change his opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
Hi, Toby Millis, under 35 observer for Bromley Reform. I've seen a lot of hope-inspiring celebrations across Finchley and Golders Green in a lot of places where there are Persians in celebration waving the flag of the Lion and Sun on Motzei Shabbos. But I saw pictures from earlier in the day as I came out of Shabbat of people outside of Parliament waving flags of the Islamic regime with pictures of Khamenei's face saying, choose the right side of history, and also, in my opinion, oxymoronically, next to peace signs. And where are these actors coming from, and what is being done to challenge them? I do also want to say that despite saying that there's hundreds of them, however many there are of them, there's more people celebrating the fall of the regime. So we should still have that hope for change in Iran.
Right, thank you. And who we got next? Lawrence online.
Should introduce himself properly.
And Lawrence, could you say where you're from, please, your constituency, who you're representing?
Lawrence Ray, Planet and District Reform Synagogue. From the analyses that I've been reading in the last 24 hours, there is absolutely no guarantee that this action will bring an end to the, of course, utterly evil Iranian regime, if nothing else, because Trump can never see anything through. And in a week or so, he could well say, "Oh, that's it. The action's over. We've won." In the last plenary, Adrian was talking about the end of the rules-based international order, and it could be the case that this is a manifestation of precisely this, an end of the rules-based international order. We could be entering a much more unstable, much more violent world, and those who are cheering this action on, and of course we all want to see the Iranian regime fall, but those who are cheering this action on might be careful what they wish for.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Jonathan Brodie, Deputy for Kingsbury Synagogue. I work with someone who's Iranian. He left the country about 20 years ago. His family or his parents are still there, and he's worried because they live pretty close to some rockets manufacturing facility. But one of the things he tells me is that there's no alternative potential regime. The son of the former Shah isn't popular because he's a representative of, because of his father's unpopularity as a kleptocrat or whatever the word is. I just wonder, if people talking about regime, is there an alternative regime that could take place, or is it really just hoping for a more moderate branch, faction within the current regime.
Thank you. And Adrian, Vice President Adrian.
Thank you very much. Jonathan's largely asked my question, but it was really, it's obviously a hazardous thing to try and forecast, but are we really looking at regime change or more the hope that there'll be an adaptation of what's there to something which is something which is more tolerant and able to treat with everybody around them? And the other question is, to what extent is Iran's territorial integrity an issue, because you've got a lot of separatist groups as well, Azeris, Kurds, Balochs and various others? Thank you.
Full Heart online.
Thank you. Surely now is the time to take Keir Starmer's government, shake them and wake them up and get them to finally prescribe the IRGC.
Okay, thank you. Right, Efrat, would you like to comment on any of these points? Some big issues raised there.
Yes, thank you everyone for your comments. The comment on potential instability after following the if there were to be regime change, I think we need to work on what we do know and facts that we do know on the ground. And what we know is that the Islamic regime is the biggest source of international instability at the moment. Next to their kind of Russian and Chinese allies and colleagues. So the Islamic Republic itself has been spreading instability. And so I think we need to look very closely at how a potential transitional government would work in the event of regime change. I would imagine that the United States and Israel have thought about this and have thought about the day after. And I think what does need to be really weighed up is, if one looks at history, in 1953, when the CIA replaced Mossadegh with a Shah, the perceptions were that the CIA did interfere within Iran's internal operations, and this was a grave mistake. And I think that the United States and Israel are very mindful of that right now. This is why the messaging is that this is up to the Iranian people to decide their future and their fate. And going back to Adrian's point, yes, there are these separatist groups, and one would hope that there is coordination within the opposition, that they do coordinate, they do arm, and they do help to determine their own country's future. There was a very, very interesting comment on the protesters outside of Parliament and the messaging. Very, very interesting that you say that. And yes, there are many pro-regime actors inside the UK. There have been many pro-regime actors who have been, we have seen, quite violent against people who oppose the regime on London streets, which has been a matter of great concern. You raise a really, really interesting point about their messaging, how they're saying that you know, they're standing on the right side of history, they're trying to reclaim the narrative. And this is possibly another talk for another time, but the Islamist regime were historically trained by Soviet agents, Soviet operatives. And so where we see the messaging, and also we've seen it throughout the Gaza war as well, their use of messaging is very reminiscent of kind of Soviet messaging, Soviet psychological warfare. It's very much reminiscent of that. So all of these comments trying to distort facts, standing on the right side of history, using the narrative of the other side and weaponizing it. This is all a pattern that the Islamist regime has used for decades. Oh, one more point. On the Pahlavis and the opposition, what we've seen, and I've been kind of following the dialogue inside Iran, is that the game changer here for regime change is that the opposition has rallied round Reza Pahlavi. We see in all of the protests, we see them recite Javid Shah. Long live the Shah. And I think they see Reza Pahlavi as a known entity. And he has said that he does not want to become the new monarch. He has presented a plan for the day after, which seems to have gained a lot of traction. So watch this space as well.
Thank you. Right, Phil, President.
We finished with the time, or should we have got time for more? Thank you very much for that, and brilliant, Efrat. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing that with us. I know you'll be very in demand on the airwaves over the coming days, so thank you for spending the time. Just a couple of points to pick up. First of all, to Paul, you can be absolutely sure that we are continuing our campaign for this prescription of the IRGC. Myself and Adrian held meetings with the Foreign Office discussing that this week even. So it's something that's very much in our mind. And if they claim they need different legislation to make this effect. We said get on with that at least. But I think the case has been pretty well made by what we've seen over the last couple of days. Yes, of course there was a protest, and Toby, you're right to note it was smaller in number than the jubilant scenes we saw from the Persian diaspora across London. But yeah, I mean, I think the deputy leader of the Green Party was outside Parliament alongside the pro-Khamenei demonstrators. I think there'll be little love lost. I think a lot of the country understands what the threat that Iran poses. Our government has been very clear about the threat it poses here as well. And I think they are probably marginalizing themselves by making themselves known. But I think we should be holding people to account, seeing that they support what they support there. And then just a last comment, really. I mean, it was one of the features of the recent visit that Efrat and I undertook to Washington, that the messaging that was coming out there was very much about the administration there does not want to seek war, but it is not frightened to use military means to shape events. Particularly if it can be done surgically. As we saw in Venezuela, and this is sort of what they're hoping, I think here, is the removal of the top leadership potentially allows some sort of other thing to emerge that might be more supportive or willing to be engaged in a more constructive way with the US and its allies. We remain to be seen, and also, as Efrat stressed, the call for the Iranian people to be able to have a chance to take matters in their own hands. So we hope that the end of this process will lead to better peace, security and freedom across the region, as we said. We continue our dialogue with the government to make sure that the best arrangements are put in place for British nationals, including in Israel, over the coming days, and also in discussions with the government and our partners at the CST to make sure the community is best safe. So please keep an eye out for their suggestions and instructions as well.
Thank you very much, Efrat, for your original statement, plus answering the questions. I think you've really given us a great understanding with your knowledge of very fast-moving and unknown situations. So thank you very much. We now move to the section on questions to the President and on the officers. Okay. Right. Is there anybody in this lineup who hasn't spoken before? I don't think, one. Okay, right, you can come first then.
Just following to that quickly.
Can you say who you are?
Zev Portner, Maidenhead Synagogue. Just following on from just what was said just now, obviously Iran has made a serious miscalculation by attacking Gulf states. And I was just wondering if the President could send a message of solidarity, not only to the Israeli people, the Israeli embassy, but also to the Bahraini ambassador, the UAE ambassador, even the Syrian ambassador as well. And also today, Cyprus has been attacked. If you could send a message of solidarity to the people of Cyprus as well. Thank you very much.
Susan Pascoe online.
Thank you very much. Susan Pascoe, Israel Community in Hendon. I wanted to raise the issue of the board thinking about employing a lawyer as a member of staff to give heightened effectiveness and stronger impact to its work. There have been a few new staff roles created within the board in the last year, which are all excellent appointments. But I know finance is an issue, but maybe when any staff leave, the board could think about consolidating roles and employing someone with legal expertise. This would be very advantageous for the board in view of the increasing anti-Semitism, the numerous ways in which anti-Zionism increasingly manifests as anti-Semitism, growing concerns over the Green Party and some other political parties, and would bring great leverage and legal acumen into the board's work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hey, Cohen Harrogate, Hebrew congregation. As an Orthodox deputy, I was a bit concerned about the news in Israel with the kotel and the restrictions that might be imparted to it. It should be a place for all Jews to be able to pray. And I just wanted to know where we as a collective board stand on that. Thanks.
Next speaker.
Robert Stone, Finisher Reform Synagogue. As a woman, I'd like to wish everybody Yom Dewi Santa, happy St. David's Day. I'd like to pick up from the events in the Middle East to the rising of anti-Semitism already referred to. On Tuesday, Esther McVeigh introduced a bill in the House of Commons to compulsory the labelling of kosher halal meat. If you read a speech at the House, it's not just about labeling, it's an attack on shechita and slaughter with strong tones of anti-Semitism. As a Reformed Jew who keeps kosher home, this aligns me with Jews of all denominations as well as Muslims. Commend Phil for his very strong defense of shechita on Thursday morning in on LBC with Ian Dale. It was a very good defense of shechita and halal. Thank you. But I'd like to know, what is the board going to do about this subversive attack on Jews and Muslims through an attack on kashrut and halal?
Next speaker, please.
Philip Goldenberg, Northwest Synagogue. The previous leadership of the board rightly and persistently denounced Corbyn's anti-Semitism, even though he might have ended up as Prime Minister. The present leadership is unwilling to denounce anti-Semitism in adult as well as in childhood, Farage, instead cutting up to his proto-fascist party, which is shot through with racism, anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Could I ask the President, please, to honour the commitment made in his election manifesto and conduct a poll online of deputies to see whether we condone or oppose fascism?
Clive Lawton, online.
Clive Lawton, Bristol Hebrew congregation. We in Bristol have a particular experience of the Green Party, and I know we don't want to be party political in any way, and I have no intention of being so, but they're a malevolent lot. And I'm not surprised that the deputy head of the Green Party, who was to be found at the pro-Iranian or pro-Iranian regime rally. In Bristol, at the general election, we saw the former leader, Carla Denyer, heavily exploit the Gaza conflict. We saw in the recent by-election, again, exploitation of identity politics with Muslims, as if there's a kind of single Muslimness that can be exploited in that way. And I would like to know what the leadership of the board intends to do to expose the damaging features of the Green Party, currently smothered in morality and perfection, so that people do understand the nature of this really quite grim group.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, Zach Bates Fisher, Movement for Progressive Judaism. I don't think I have to tell everyone that there's been a rather naughty Jew in the news recently, Epstein. And I've been slightly concerned by some of the press coverage I've heard, which has referred to his web of influence, his tentacles expanding, including by Jewish journalists. And obviously, there are some other Jews who were involved in the Epstein files in his horrible acts. So I'm not going to go into details, but I wondered if the board has done any thinking or has any kind of position on language that might be implying there's some sort of Jewishness to his evil.
Yes. Next speaker, please.
I'm Jane Ginsborg, Sheffield and District Reform Synagogue, Seven Hills Shul. Following up Clive Lawton's question, I didn't know he was going to ask it, what steps is the board going to take to work constructively with the Green Party following their success in the Gorton and Denton by-election, particularly in relation to their Zionism is Racism motion and ongoing BDS campaign?
Right. So.
I'm going to come in here and then I'll come back. So thank you to all those asking questions. Very good point on the Gulf states and others that have been targeted in recent days. We were very deliberate in our statement to be clear about that solidarity, and I made the statement here, but I will convey our good wishes to the embassies of those countries as well. You're right to say that. We do stand in solidarity with all those countries that have come under attack. And as I say, it just underlines the malevolence of the Iranian regime as it stands. Susan, thank you for your question on legal issues. Of course, we're very lucky to have on our HO team a very esteemed lawyer, Adrian, who's kind of our first port of call. But wherever we need specialist advice, we do take it. We know our brilliant colleagues at UK Lawyers for Israel, and among her many hats, Efrat is the chair of UK Lawyers for Israel, and we have Jeremy Shea, of course, as a deputy. We do draw on them, and as well as the JLC, who've kind of developed a legal fund. So we do take legal advice where we need to, but thank you for that question. Hayden, I think really, really important question. I think I won't be the only one who's just been dismayed and angered at times by moves against progressive and Masorti Jewish rights in Israel. We as a board of deputies support Israel as a Jewish and democratic state, a state for all its citizens of all ethnicities, including Arab citizens, and a Jewish state for all streams of Judaism. This is really important. So when you see the current Israeli government going against the rulings of the High Court, against the resolution of the World Zionist Congress, and taking steps which disenfranchise progressive and Masorti Jews from the space at the Kotel that they've been given for many years and are supposed to have expanded use of, I think that goes against every interest of our relationship with Israel, not only on principle, but also as a matter of strategy. You know, why would you divide the people you want to engage with? It's really absolutely depressing. And so over the course of this week, we've been in touch with the Israeli government in Jerusalem, as well as the embassy here, to convey our concerns about this, to say that legislation should be halted and it should be reversed. Robert, thank you for your St. David's Day greetings and your comments on kosher and halal. This is something we're going to have to devote more and more time to, unfortunately. Just a couple of weeks ago, we saw the formation of a new party, Restore Britain, I think it's called, where this is an explicit platform, ban kosher and halal. And Esther McVeigh's 10-minute rule bill this week was really concerning. And seeing a number of Conservatives as well as members of the Reform UK party join in with that, I think is a matter of concern. There is, as there always has been, some misunderstandings and goodwill in some places, but in other parts it's clear, and I said this on LBC, a part of a trend of prejudice that we will confront. So it's going to be something that we work to do. We're part of the coalition Shechita UK that works on this issue. We're going to be doing a briefing in Parliament, I think this week or next week, to try and improve awareness and understanding. And it's clearly something we're going to be spending more time on in the coming period. It's a very important one, and the one that we can stand in solidarity with friends and colleagues from the Muslim community as well. Philip, and it's interesting the questions both from Philip, Clive, and indeed of Jane about the kind of more diverse political landscape that we face. And I want to reassure deputies that we will continue to engage without fear or favour across all of our politics challenging parties, including Reform UK and the Green Party, on their candidate selection, on their policies as they affect our community, on anti-Semitism among their candidates, and in their policy platforms. That is what we are going to be doing, and we confront them directly in person and in writing. We're working out a new kind of engagement strategy in terms of that more diverse political landscape, but we'll be absolutely fighting for Jewish interests as the political landscape becomes more diverse. It's very important to say that. Zach, we have noticed that, and I was really sad to hear over the weekend that a number of young people had seen more and more anti-Semitism online from their peers relating to the Epstein situation. Obviously appalling crimes. We all condemn what happened there in terms of just whole disgusting situation that was emerging with Epstein. But we will look at to see whether this is something that takes root or whether it's something that kind of passes in time. I know many journalists have been very responsible in their reporting, but some haven't, and it's worth keeping an eye on that. So thank you for flagging it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Bruce Greenberg online.
Yes, thank you. That's right. I'm Bruce Greenberg, Northampton Hebrew Congregation. Just wanted to mention this at the end of today's agenda. It says date of next meeting, March 12th. I know I'm being sarcastic as usual and even pedantic. I like using that word, pedantic. But why are we meeting on a Thursday?
It's a mistake. It's April the 12th. It's April the 12th.
Yeah, right.
Maybe I just
right. I'm advised it's April the 12th.
It's April the 12th. It's in person, and deputies are also advised to look at the calendar that the May plenary meeting is now online to balance this one, moving from online to in person. The list in the papers has all the updated correct dates and configurations.
Okay, thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Josh Harrington, Zionist Federation UK. I recently had the opportunity to speak in Houston for Texas just last week for Shalva organization. And the week before visiting Shalva, I spoke to a delegation from Conference of American Presidents who were visiting. I'm wondering what we are doing to work with organizations, amazing organizations such as Shalva, in Israel that are doing incredible work. Also, while I'm up here, I was requested by Ayelet HaShachar, an incredible organization helping kibbutzim restore, that if any synagogue here has a Sefer Torah that is not in use, either to give or to lend for kibbutzim that are desperate for Sefer Torah. Through me, you can contact me, and all the kibbutzim will be happy. Thank you.
Right, next speaker, please.
Royce Archie, Manchester Reform Synagogue. I want to ask the board to consider an additional approach in our comms with the public when tackling anti-Semitism. And that's to accept that English is a living language and the meaning of words change. Not so long ago, to be gay simply meant to be carefree. In the same way, the meaning of the words genocide and Holocaust are in danger of becoming degraded, and I think it's incumbent upon the board, as well as all of us, to stress the original and singular meaning of these words. As a journalist, I was trained that the only two things we can take for granted are that most people know the names of the monarch and the prime minister, and the rest must be explained if we want to make ourselves understood. Instead, our public statements and interviews, we could consider shedding a little light. I'll end as well by saying there's now, in my opinion, a real danger of the word Zionist becoming a toxic word if we're not better prepared. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, next speaker.
Jeremy Woodcliffe, Mitzvah Day. On Wednesday in Parliament, there was a mass lobby and emergency summit attended by over 100 MPs, lords and ladies, and supporters of victims of anti-Semitism. The event was organised by the GPS Grassroots Network and Christians United for Israel. GPS Network, for those who don't know, is the UK's most widespread and numerous umbrella organisation providing grassroots, Jews, Christians and many others, a gamut of opportunities to take action to stop anti-Semitism themselves. Wednesday was the launch of an emergency campaign to escalate and make apparent that there is an emergency crisis in anti-Semitism. Will the board recognize that these calls to escalate the scale of anti-Semitism to an emergency and crisis terminology will make any difference? Will the board reorientate its daily activities in that light, if that's the case? Will the board call for an injection of fresh faces, new ideas, new projects to make a lasting effect on Parliament and to the British people? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Daniel Lightman, Golders Green Synagogue. I want to ask a further question about Iran. I read in today's Sunday Times that the British government didn't allow access to British bases or resources on the basis of the Attorney General's advice about the legality of the proposed strike. It seems to me that that's likely to be something which may be weaponized against Israel, and maybe people will say there's been breaches of international law and there may be ramifications. Phil has mentioned about access to legal advice from external sources. I wonder whether this might be something which might be prioritized in terms of getting advice, because seems to me it's bound to be something which is going to be center stage in the next few days. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Deborah Cohen, Belsize Square Synagogue. My question takes us back to the amount of concern that's been expressed this morning about the Green Party and the Reform Party. It is absolutely not for the board to tell people how to vote. And we also note that Reform UK, there is now a Jewish Friends of Reform UK. What it is for the Board of Deputies to do, I believe, and I'm asking the honorary officers whether this is a constructive, practical way forward, is to put out some key lines of inquiry or some criteria for the general Jewish public to look at when they are thinking about how to cast their vote. You know, what is the attitude of the party you are thinking of voting for to Shechita, etc., that people can use to guide them, because I think they might change their minds. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, right, there's one more online. I'm going to take that and then I'm going to come to Phil.
Penina.
Right, Penina online. Penina.
Good afternoon. Penina Serrano, Beth Shalom Reform Synagogue, Cambridge. Seems quite trivial compared to all the stuff going on with Iran, but I'll battle on. May I suggest that unofficial group leaders and their allocated admin moderators be clear on their preferred topics and be careful on sensitive BOD matters if not all their members are active BOD deputies. With leadership of any form comes responsibility, and surely these group chat leaders should uphold this and stop allowing bullying and only a one-sided strong political agenda to dominate their groups. Sadly, there's evidence that this spills over to official groups too. If group leaders are too busy to moderate the groups, perhaps they should step aside, allocate someone else, or step down. Alternatively, how about an Elon Musk-style group where everyone can let rip at one another?
Thank you. Some very important issues there across a whole range of things. Phil, President, what would you like to say?
Thank you very much. Josh, thank you for raising those two very important causes, Shalva, and of course the campaign to get Torah scrolls to some of the kibbutzim that are looking to be re-established in the south, and please, I'd encourage deputies to support those works. In particular, in relation to disability, we're moving forward on the Disability Commission. We hope in the coming weeks to be able to announce the next steps of that, but we're really excited about the structure that's coming into place on that. Roy, I know we share your concerns about some of the language that's being used and misused and words being kind of redefined, and we're looking at ways that deal with it. Part of the challenge is Of course, if we're confronted with those words, we look to challenge them. But actually, part of the design of the misuse of those words is to force you to fight on territory that's not actually true or fair. And so more than trying to reinforce the language that they're using, we're trying to move that along. We've had a number of helpful conversations with both politicians and with media companies that have been in our view of concern to see if we can get them quietly to move on in terms of the language that they use. And we're seeing if that will help us over time as well. But it's certainly something to look at. Jeremy Muzzletov on the efforts of GPS this week. It was really good to see that campaign, and clearly we are deeply concerned about the challenge of anti-Semitism, the crisis, as you put it. You'll have seen that following discussion by deputies, we've put out a whole strategy that we've asked the government to adopt. We're continuing to engage with the government about adopting those specific measures. But actions like you've taken, which really show, and I heard from colleagues some of the really moving testimonies, just undergirds the need for those actions to be taken and taken fast. So thank you to you and yours for that. We will be doing another Board of Deputies Parliamentary Advocacy Day later in the year, and I do hope deputies will support that as well. It's really important that we make our voices heard at the grassroots as well as nationally. Daniel, thank you for your comments about that. Yes, I think we'll probably speak to our colleagues at UKLFI to understand the basis of legal guidance around this. I know that many in our community just feel that on this issue, the government feels more like managers than leaders. And we want to make sure that, and that might be true the way some people see the government on a number of issues, to be fair, but we want to make sure that the government is doing absolutely everything it can to support the causes that we think are important, and understanding the legal basis by which we should be asking for that as well. So thank you for that suggestion. Deborah, you'll be pleased to know that we will be producing the latest version of our local government manifesto to give people in the Jewish community and beyond guidance as to what we think the issues that they should be raising when they are confronted by canvassers on their doorstep, or when hustings are organised around the country in the forthcoming local elections in May. That is on its way, and it will be with you soon. And finally, Penina, I think you raise a really important point, and it's one that I must tell you that we're really thinking about a lot at the moment, which is these WhatsApp groups. The unofficial WhatsApp groups are taking up a lot of our time. Now, there is only one official WhatsApp group. It's the one-way all deputies communications channel. But I know that many people are deeply concerned about the tone and the language that they're seeing across a range of those groups. Now, we have recently, and you'll have seen the Constitution Committee, and I thank Dilys and others, given guidance for moderators of these WhatsApp groups, telling them that, you know, some of the behaviour in them could come within the scope of the code of conduct. So people should be mindful of that when they're communicating. We want people to have a lively discussion about the board and the policies and the issues that we're engaging with. But it is something we're going to have to continue to look at, that if there is continued poor behaviour that really ruins people's informal experience of the Board of Deputies, we are going to have to look at doing something a bit different. So first of all, I just urge people to be personally responsible, whether a moderator or participant in this group, but we are actively looking at that challenge.
We're now going to have a slight alteration to the order on the agenda, and I'm going to move to the new speakers programme, where new deputies can speak to us on whatever they wish to say. The first one is Martin Blaine on Zoom. Martin Blaine.
Am I unmuted? I am unmuted. Can you hear me? Okay, great, thank you. My name is Martin Blaine. I live in Barnet in North London. I've lived here for most of my life, and so does most of my very large and close family. My immediate family consists of my wife Anna and 3 children, all of whom are of school age. I was educated at QE Boys in Barnet and at Cambridge. I've been a teacher for 30 years, including at Hasmonean and at Emmanuel College. And I'm currently a head teacher in a very different type of school in central London, very much an inner city place with inner city challenges. Some time back, I set up Alma Primary, which is a Jewish school in Whetstone. I proposed the idea initially, and I got together the team that started it up. And all 3 of my children have gone through that school and subsequently on to JFS. Well, actually, one is about to go to JFS. Also in the field of education, I'm a council member of ASCL, which is the head teachers trade union. And this means I get to discuss high-level educational policy with politicians and other people like that. So anyway, that's me. I've been elected and sent here by the New North London Synagogue. It's a large, vibrant and inclusive shul in Finchley under the Masorti designation. I've been a member here in the shul for ages and ages, and all of our family simchas in my adult life have been here. It's a liberal and a caring community with which I share pretty much all my values. We currently have 4 deputies on the board, and we try to work together on different projects. I myself am very new. That's why I'm a new speakers program. I stood because I thought I could contribute to the Jewish community and to the shul, and this seemed to be good use of my skills. I have a few specific areas of interest. I am, as you might expect, keen on education. In particular, I'd like to see the Jewish schools working more closely together, maybe to form a multi-academy trust for the non-Orthodox schools, and that would include Alma. Currently, that's a gap in the system. It's a great opportunity, and it's also a risk if we don't do it now. Now's a good time to do something like that. I'm very happy to discuss that with anybody at another time. I'm also interested in preventing anti-Semitism in the UK in all its different forms, and I have on occasions hunted out a few rogue actors in schools. I'm generally interested in politics, and I am fascinated by international affairs. So that's me.
Thank you very much for that. Now we have Derek Zisman, who is here.
Madam Chair, Mr. President, fellow deputies, let me begin with a very brief resume of my background. Born in Birmingham, with my family actively involved with Singers Hill Synagogue and indeed the city. My brother was a former Lord Mayor. I was bar mitzvahed and married at Singers Hill. I attended Carmel College and on leaving was dispatched, I say dispatched, by my father into an accountancy firm. In those days, fathers wanted their sons to go into a profession, become a lawyer or an accountant, certainly not to go into the schmutter trade. On qualifying as a chartered accountant, I joined KPMG and was appointed a partner in 1976, one of the first openly Jewish partners in the UK firm, probably in any major UK firm. I moved to the London office in 1999 and retired after 37 years service. As one young person said to me, 37 years, you get less for committing murder. And I still work. I'm married to an Israeli. We each have 2 sons and 10 grandchildren. This is my first triennium. I'm a member of the Western Marble Arts Synagogue, and I'm its treasurer, not surprisingly. Mary Rayner Lee and I are the 2 deputies representing the shul. I serve on the board's finance, fundraising and organisation division, and I'm delighted to support the team in the work they undertake, not only for looking after our finances, but also continuously seeking ways to improve our systems and controls, and very importantly, focusing on fundraising and risk assessment. Finally, communal issues which concern me. Of course, anti-Semitism in the UK and current events in Israel concern us all, worry us all. Leaving that aside, I have 2 concerns. Succession plannings. Are the smart early middle-age, that's the 35 to 35 group, volunteering to become deputies? Many of those smart guys are involved in charities, Jewish charities, but are we seeing them actively involved with the work that we do on the board? If not, what are we going to do to change this? Second, the future of our youth. As you all know, there is an increase in young people facing huge challenges to obtain a career of their choice. I see it all the time. Huge challenges to obtain an interview, to obtain an offer, let alone an internship. So maybe it's time for them to think about those businesses which our grandparents and great-grandparents made such a successful living from, the schmutter trade. So finally, what are we going to do to help our young people? Thank you.
Next, we have Harry Sassoon on Zoom. Harry Sassoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking today as an under 35 observer for Kehilat Otzion, KOT, a Masorti community founded in late 2024 in South Manchester. I was elected in January this year when KOT joined the board, and I'm proud to represent our community here. KOT is egalitarian, traditional, and unapologetically Zionist. Families sit together, services are serious, and Jewish tradition and modern life are not treated as opposing forces. That is what my constituents expect from this board. Last year, I resigned from this board because I believed its response to the Financial Times letter signed by 36 deputies lacked clarity when clarity was essential. My view has not changed. Following the Heaton Park terror attack, the board coordinated unified demands to government and secured outcomes on protest policing and institutional engagement. That coordination matters. But the same impact report exposes gaps between institutional activity and lived community experience. Many Jews see statements and visits, but struggle to see what changes here in Britain. Reports are not action. Photo opportunities are not action. Anti-Semitism is rising. Bias against Jews is increasingly normalized. Many Jews, especially younger ones, are quietly questioning their future in this country. Around 4 in 5 British Jews identify as Zionist. This is the mainstream of Jewish life. When anti-Zionism denies Jewish self-determination, it constitutes anti-Semitism. That position should be communicated clearly and consistently. So on behalf of my constituency, we are asking this board to leave today with clear actions. First, communicate explicitly that anti-Zionism, which denies Jewish self-determination, constitutes anti-Semitism. Second, ensure that engagement with local authorities, police forces, and government produces visible outcomes for communities experiencing anti-Semitism. Third, confront the BDS movement directly and unapologetically. Lead political opposition to boycotts and institutional exclusion, and defend engagement with Israel across public life. Fourth, treat public narrative as a strategic battleground. Shape it early, not after damage is done. Trust will be rebuilt when British Jews can see this board acts decisively and speaks clearly in defense of Jewish dignity and legitimacy in this country. Am Yisrael Chai, God save the King, Hag Purim Sameach.
Thank you. Right, the next speaker is Toby Millis in person.
Toby Millis, under 35 observer from the crown jewel of southeast London, Bromley Reformed Synagogue. God further said to Moses, I see that this is a stiff-necked people. Now let me be, that my anger may blaze forth against them and that I may destroy them, and make of you a great nation. But Moses implored the Eternal his God, saying, let not your anger, O Eternal One, blaze forth against your people, whom you delivered from the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand. Let not the Egyptians say, it was with evil intent that he delivered them, only to kill them off in the mountains and annihilate them from the face of the earth. Turn from your blazing anger and renounce the plan to punish your people. Remember your servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, how you swore to them by yourself and said to them, I will make your offspring as numerous as the stars of heaven, and I will give to your offspring this whole land of which I spoke to possess forever. Exodus 32, 9-13. Hopelessness. We are at a point in the Torah where the Israelites are worshipping a golden calf. Moses has been called upon by God to lead the people out of Egypt, and each hurdle they face is taught to be overcome, no matter who it is from. Today, our world leaders have engaged in acts akin to this worship, finding loopholes in the claims that what someone is doing is okay and not in fact harming themselves and others, as we've seen before the downside to material power in such a sacred world from Teruma. Even the growing use of AI by the rich and powerful can be seen as a backward step towards trust in the media. As we depart from this harsh and arduous climate of winter, mere glimmers of sunshine have returned a smile back to the faces of some. However, I have written this Devar Torah in commemoration of Zach Clement, Zichrono Levracha, a dedicated RSYnik who tragically took his own life around this time 4 years ago, as the restrictions of the pandemic were starting to ease and the days were beginning to get warmer. Every year since has been a reflective opportunity for me and the movement I grew up in to express their feelings through writing. For me at first, it was poetry, now it is Divrei Torah. It is important to acknowledge all those friends and family who have been in a similar experience, to take the pain of grief and turn it into something positive. The hope I have is that someone can be inspired by the writings of others to then be able to better articulate their own thoughts and feelings. Suicide to me is like a golden calf, not only in the extreme sense that the action angers God, but resembles a figure of disruption to others' lives, deceiving in its attraction and materialistically overwhelming in its presence. The second hope I have is these situations often miraculously create leaders out of people who do not quite know it yet. Rabbi Sachs, also partly quoting Rambam, says, "A miracle is a moment when the veil behind which God is hidden is lifted and we see a signal of transcendence. Yet an awakening from above, for all its glory, has limited impact on human beings. 3 days after the division of the Red Sea, the Israelites were already complaining about the bitterness of the water they had to drink. 40 days after Sinai, they made the golden calf. An awakening from above changes nature, but it does not change human nature. It calls for nothing on the part of man other than to be still and patient, to wait, hope, and receive." That's from Tehillah Fractured World. Besides this double threat of Jewish thought, I sought inspiration in the way I know best, which involves pestering others in the community on what gives them the most hope. I asked a variety of Jews, both in and outside of Israel, of different ages, genders, sexualities, traditional and progressive religiosity, to none this question. People have given answers along the lines of the music they listen
Can you bring
to.
it to a close? Your time
Yes.
is up.
About 10 seconds.
Very quick.
Ah.
10 seconds. All right.
Yeah. The positive changes in weather, the acts of kindness they see in others out to the world, a building of Emunat Hashem, data trends to encourage a better future, the national anthem of Medinat Yisrael being about hope for the Jewish people. All these answers culminated together have given me hope that the eagerness of others to help the world, thus concluding that most people are awesome. And I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you very much to all our speakers. I'd now like to welcome Rabbi David Mason, who I think I've seen come in there. Chief Executive of Hayas J-Corps, where he does some excellent work, which we all appreciate very much. I'd like to invite you to speak to us, Rabbi Mason, on Refugee Shabbat.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. It's really good to be here. I think our thoughts are right, Libeinu b'Mizrach. Our hearts are in the east. I think of the Jews, of all of us, of Am Yisrael, of all those who live in Medinat Yisrael, and the people of Iran as well. So I think that's the context really for us at the moment. I'd like to also thank the board for your support, Phil, for your support as well, which is really appreciated. It's not easy times, and I think I would like personally to take the opportunity to commend your leadership through times that are not simple for the Jewish people in this country. So we have situations where people who are seeking asylum will be given status by the government, right? So they'll be, for all intents and purposes, whatever your standpoint is, they'll be legal, right? They'll be given status. Hello, you're a whatever, you're a Syrian, you're a Sudanese, we accept your case. And then you're given 28 days to move on from your hotel and then the place to live or a job. It's not long, 28 days, right? And we have cases like that where people become destitute, and we're able, through our support processes that we have, to help them find a place to live, linked properly with the council. So we have cases where we need to bring a sense of Jewish compassion to bear, supporting people who need our help. My great-grandmother came here, my grandparents came here from Germany, wanted compassion, needed that support from the government, them to become part of this country. So we stand as an organization, right? We're an organization that supports refugees, led by Jewish values of compassion, of responsibility, of solidarity and partnership. Look on our website, there are Hebrew, there are Jewish Torah connections to all these areas as well. Maimonides actually was one who said that the Jewish person is understood, is defined as someone Rahman, Baishan, and Chesed, who is merciful, who is humble, and gives kindness. For him, that was what is defined as. We go for that. So order is important. It's important to have a system for those seeking asylum and refuge ordered, that's fair. And that might include people being returned if they don't meet the criteria. Accept that. But at the same time, we want those people who do, the many, to also be given a proper case here. We will push the politics away. A lot of politics around it. Focus on the good and hope and on the values. And given the rise of the far right, I think that's really important personally to do that. And so Refugee Shabbat is an opportunity every year, this year on the 13th and 14th of May, so not long, for your community, your organization possibly, to engage with the issue of refuge and asylum. And when I engage, people have got lots of views. There'll be in this room a myriad views on refuge and asylum, on the numbers, the politics. But there's probably going to be a lot we do agree on, hopefully, I add that word, hopefully agree on, which is for the many that should be given humanitarian protection, they should be given a fair case. They should find it hard. It shouldn't be with cruelty, it should be with compassion. And with the politics of the moment, that's really complicated. So we have over 50 synagogues that are involved across denominations. The Chief Rabbi has been really supportive, giving us a lovely supportive video. And I think he has that sense of compassion and responsibility within his Chief Rabbinate. We've worked with UJS. We have a program now through the year called the Student Refugee Ambassador Program, where over 30 students are involved. We have Walk in Willesden, which we're going to be running with Deborah Cohen. I should call out, has been really supportive of our work. Good to call out a Lynn Cohen in the Board of Deputies who's not sitting at the executive table. Said with love, of course, Adrian. But that students are themselves organised in their JSOCs program around Refugee Shabbat. So we're going to have a lot going on to increase our awareness, increase our knowledge of what actually is happening in this country, and increase our ability to react as Jewish people. Check your shul, is it involved? Be in touch with us, you can do it through our website as well. If you'd like to be more involved, obviously there's not long, but you could do something in the week, it could be the week before, it could be the week or two after. And many of you might be going to synagogues that are involved as well. So that's a bit about my organization, our values, what we're doing, how you can engage as well. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those inspiring words. Now, would anybody like to comment or to ask any questions on this? Or to comment on what's been said? You can't escape quite yet, but maybe. Does anyone wish to say anything? Yes. Right.
Well, I think you can second time.
You can.
I'd just like to commend the wonderful work you do. Finchley Reform Synagogue, we choose a charity every 3 years to partner with, and we partner with New Citizens Gateway, which is a Barnet organization that works with refugees and asylum seekers, and we have had an incredibly good and close relationship with them. We host their annual meetings, we host parties for the women and children who are in the local hotel. It's a really a fulfilling thing to be doing, and we really appreciate what Hayas and Jaco do in this respect, and we're really looking forward to Refugee Shabbat. So thank you very much.
Right, thank you. And of course, Hayat Jaco is a member of the board, so which I'm very pleased to see happened. Good. Yes.
Ruth Hart, Bournemouth Reformed Synagogue. Kavod Harav, will you extend the same compassion to people who are born in this country, who are homeless, who are former servicemen and women fleeing from domestic violence, who are also without a home through no fault of their own?
Right,
yeah, I mean,
Mason, would you like to answer? There's nobody else, I think, wanting to speak, so would you like to?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Absolutely, in the sense that compassion, something actually I said recently, compassion doesn't stop. It spills over. So the compassion that we have as a people, right, as Jews, will always be naturally first to our own people, right? And therefore, the security and the safety of our people is always paramount to us. The work I'm doing is almost saying, look, we're not going to be the major organization in the Jewish community, Highest J-Corps. We're going to be an important part of the community, but not the major. There's a lot more important stuff, right, in terms of anti-Semitism, supporting Israel, that we do. But the chesed, the kindness we have, spills over. And that therefore means that it would spill over to other areas. It might be that we can't do all that. Right, we have to focus. I have funders. I have to focus on what we're doing. But there are other organizations. I know, for instance, Tselem, which is a rabbinic group, a sort of network which started a few years ago, ideally should grow. It's really important. Does do a lot on poverty and on homelessness. So yeah, it shouldn't stop with us. And obviously there should always be a Jewish pain at these things in society.
Thank you. Right, we've got now 3 more people have now been inspired to speak. So I will take those before we move on. Yes, take you here.
Hello, Zach, we've met before, I know. I wanted to ask, the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting in 2018, the perpetrator said that he was targeting it because the synagogue had a program with an organization called HIAS, which is HIAS J-Corps that you're part of in America. And he believed that Jews were bringing refugees to America to kind of destroy the white society. So I wondered if you've had any similar anti-Semitism that you've experienced as HIAS J-Corps in this country, and what communities should know to kind of know that this is a safe thing to do.
Yeah, that's a really helpful question. Yeah, so we have. We get quite a lot of online anti-Semitism. And I think it's important to know that there is an anti-Semitism of the left, right, which can often channel itself through a hatred of Israel or a demonizing. And there is an anti-Semitism of the right, which can also select its Jew. And so if we have sympathy for the right, because of whatever politics we have, just be careful that those right people don't then have a go and attack and use you to sympathize, to attack the Jews that are maybe more progressive. So I'm someone who would say, hey, I stand here. I would be quite happy to admit openly that I'm a Zionist. I've lived in Israel many years. I think Israel is incredibly important for our people. I'm very critical. I have fears about what's going on. But at the same time, that doesn't stop me wanting to support the other. And so what you'll see, and that was therefore a really good question, is many on the far right, the bots, the people, the Tommy Robinson gang, will want to name every single organization in the Jewish community. And we can send you the tweets. I've sent Phil sometimes as well. They will name everyone who's involved. They'll name and shame the Jews or the shuls. FRS has been on it. I've seen before. We had Richard before. FPS, whatever it is, whichever drop in. And I get named too. I get lovely pictures of me, out there by the far right. They love a good picture. Yeah, that's part of our life. CST have been really helpful to us in terms of cybersecurity. But it's a phenomenon that exists. Anti-Semites will always select their Jew that likes them. And this is a problem on both sides. And we've just got to be careful of that.
Thank you. I'm now going to go to Flora Frank, who is online. And after that, I'm going to ask Senior Vice President Adrian Cohen to conclude this part of the meeting.
How do I?
Flora Frank.
I'm trying to get on too. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get on.
You are.
You're
on.
Oh, you can hear me. Sorry, I'm having trouble. Thank you, Rabbi David Mason, one of my teachers that I've always admired. You're doing a wonderful job. And I'm speaking in a way the converse of what my dear friend Ruth has said. I have problems because I'm in a community where it's an amazing community in Edgware, absolutely. First of all, I'm Flora Frank, British Emunah. And I'm very proud to say that I do a little bit of work for the Chesed program, which is every few weeks or months, whatever it is, we cook for the asylum seekers. And it's all illegal, as the rabbi has, told us very pointedly. It's all a legal thing. But I have friends who say to me, and I'm not ashamed to say it, because they say they're good people, they're Holocaust survivors, children of Holocaust survivors. They tell me they will not forgive me. Flora, I'm sorry, you should not be spending your time looking after, what did the Nazis and so on and so forth, their names we blotted out. Now, I agree. I say to them, look, I also help my own people. But, the Rabbi David has told us so beautifully what the Rambam has said, that we've got to be B'nai Rachmanim, we have it in our DNA that we are. How can we get through? There is quite a large amount of people. I often have to, fight for it around a Shabbat table. What are you doing helping us? And Rabbi Mason, you spoke so beautifully, and you say you're in touch with all these many organizations, but how can we get it across to the general public that this is a very, very important thing for Jews to do? It's more important in a way than helping our own. Well, you know what I'm saying. I feel very passionate about this, and I need help.
I think, Flora, you've gone off. You finished. Thank you very much, Flora. Adrian Cohen. Sorry, Adrian. Yes.
Sorry.
Rabbi Mason, yes.
Thank you. I mean, great to see you, Flora. And I think, look, one of the things I would say is we need stories, and we need them on social media. We need to be able to see that there are people, and we have, who come from different cultures and backgrounds, who are coming in as people seeking asylum, who just want to get on and get a job, or get on and be part of society, who actually are with Jews, right? That we can get on with others. That they're actually, we have a befriending program called Jump, where up to 40 Jewish people are befriending those seeking asylum, and they build a connection with them, often for a long time. I think those stories are really important. To show that we can do it. And just to finish, Hendon Synagogue, which is a United Synagogue, has a drop-in. It's done for years now, and is really successful. And there are great stories of people who are feeling so supported by Jewish people. That's what we call a Kiddush Hashem, I think. So,
Thank you very much. Adrian.
Thank you very much, Rabbi David Mason. I just... a lot of the focus around asylum seekers, refugees, is very much overshadowed by the worries and concerns about social cohesion, particularly in the Gorton and Denton by-election. And there's a worry that it drives us as a community into a psychological ghetto on the subject. So I just wanted to sort of flag counter-examples. So just last night, I'm sure many people here would have seen the videos of the crowds out in Finchley and Golders Green, which were a mix of Jews, a lot of young Jews and Iranians as well. And it's very likely to be a case that a large number of those Iranians would have been refugees, in some cases asylum seekers. And I know from my own personal experience, and I was blessed in having the assistance of Hayas Jakor. I sponsored a refugee family an asylum-seeking family that was successful here in the UK from Kurdistan with mixed heritage, including Jewish. And we should be both aware that we ourselves are of refugee heritage in large part, but also that it is part of our own code as well to promote refugees and asylum seekers. And Marie's not here, but I just wanted to also reference the fact that she did go to a refugee camp in Calais back in the day. And it's a huge part of our own communal heritage, and it would be a shame if we felt, if we were ashamed of our own heritage, that would be a very sad thing. So whilst it is the case, and rightly the case, that most of our activities and our community's activities are focused on the concerns of our own community, it's also an important part of that we do focus on other people as well, because it's important to be true to ourselves. So I really do want to commend the fact we're having this Shabbat, and to commend the work of Hayas Jakor, and particularly I know Rabbi Mason, who is a very respected person with huge experience in this field, and it's a real Kiddush Hashem to have him with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Mason, for your inspiring comments today, and also for the work you do, important for the refugees and for the asylum seekers, but also very important for the Jewish community itself. So thank you very much. We're now We're now coming to the end of this plenary, that we have another important meeting to follow. I'd like to again thank Michael for sponsoring today's Kiddush and draw your attention to the fact we are looking for more sponsors for Kiddushes next time. So please, could you consider that if possible? So thank you very much for your attendance, and I declare this plenary closed, but this is now to be followed by very important hustings, which Phil will chair. Thank you very much.
Let me just explain what's going to happen while we have the two excellent candidates with us in the room. At 12:45, we had a brief toin toss to establish who would be going first. Very nice, that's what we like to see. And the toin toss established that Sheila would speak to us first. So the candidate speaking second will be escorted from the room, as you've just seen before you. It's like Seder night, this feels a bit. And each candidate, as you know, many of you will be veterans of this process, but for those who are new, and I'm delighted we've got new deputies, even new since the last meeting, this is a 10-minute session in which each candidate has up to 5 minutes to give a presentation. They can take less time, but they can take up to 5 minutes. And then an opportunity for deputies to ask questions. They're not pre-selected, you just put your hand up in person or online, and we'll select a few as goes to it. There is a clock up. Well, there will be a clock. I've seen it demonstrated. There will be a clock, both that tells you how long into the 10 minutes each candidate has gone, but also that will be stopped each time a deputy asks a question to make sure that each candidate has their full allotted 10 minutes. We want to. They will be up. They'll be up everywhere. Clocks will be hard to avoid. No, you cannot interrupt. To be very clear, they speak 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes, uninterrupted, before you, in an orderly way, put your hands up to indicate that you might wish to speak. That is the main thing. When Sheila finishes, she'll be taken to the other room, and we'll start the process again with Karen. So shall we get the clock ready to go? And once we have, the floor is yours, Sheila.
Hear me. Okay, so we've alluded to St. David's Day already, so pronoun da, deputies in the room, online. As a proud Welsh deputy, greetings, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today. I also want to thank all the people who have given me so much support and guidance and help over these past few weeks. You know, I really appreciate you all, and I hope I don't let you down. So throughout this campaign, there have been two main questions that I've been asked, and they're really valid. And the first one is, why on earth would you want this job? You've done this before. You've been vice president, senior vice president. Why would you want to do it again? And you know, it's a really good point. So I'm driving away from a school. I'm pumped up. I'm energized. 7 or 8 year olds trying on the kippot, trying to blow the shofar, listening to me read from the Torah scroll while they point with the yad. And I'm away and I'm excited every time I come away from these school visits. And I think to myself, there's a vacancy. It's for just over a year. I can hit the ground running. I have done this before. I was vice president in 2015, chairing the Communities and Education Division. In that time, I raised the number of Jewish representatives on standing advisory councils for RE from 35 to over 140. With board staff, we work together, you know. Thank you. We now have a Jewish voice in nearly every area of England and Wales that helps set the RE education, a Jewish voice in all these areas where they've never met another Jew. When I was senior vice president, I chaired the international division, and I was honored to be a guest of the Azerbaijani Jewish community on a short trip representing the board. I was there, I was hosted, I spoke on Azerbaijani television about being Jewish and British, and it was a great honour. I also went to Boston after, we've alluded it today, the Pittsburgh Tree of Life attack. I went as a member of the board to represent the Jewish community at an event from Ronald Crafts arranged with Roman Abramovich. And I've been to France. You know, I've done all these jobs. I know the protocols. I know about meeting with government ministers, with heads of state, ambassadorial events. I've spoken. I think you get the idea. I have the experience and I can do this job. The second question is, you're really busy. Why would you want to fit this all in? How are you going to manage? Well, if you're a really busy person, you learn to prioritize. And the board would be my priority. You can change school meeting visit dates. You can attend meetings online. You know, I'm executive and trustee of major national religious education groups in this country. I have a respected voice nationally, and those meetings, those people respect what I do on the board, and those meetings could be moved. The other thing I want to address today is we've had a few issues, it was alluded to online, that there have been suggestions that a progressive view cannot be expressed by somebody not from the progressive community. That is so not true. When I was elected Vice President in 2015, I was quizzed by leading members of the progressive group on the Board of Deputies, and I must have done something right because I was elected. I have also lived outside of our community, running a pub in Cumbria for 20 years, where I was the only Jew in the village, but never lost my faith or my Jewish identity. That's where my road to speaking in schools as a Jewish person began. And I'm honest, I have a track record being honest and open and fair, and I can represent all voices across the board. And do you know, our enemies don't care where we come from. Progressive, Orthodox, they don't care. We're Jews, they hate us. We have to stand up and fight for our religious freedoms of Brit Milah and Shechita and have our burial rights upheld. I have met with the coroner in South Wales with my rabbi, negotiating non-invasive autopsies, and that was a success in that area. I can do this job. And we also fight anti-Semitism, 100%. Support our UJS, the Union of Jewish Students, who work so hard to protect Jewish students on campus, to help them and support them. And regional deputies.
Last 10 seconds.
Thank you. Regional deputies. I'm from Cardiff. I know what it's like to come from a small regional community. I've been chairing the regional assembly with Marilyn. We make sure regional voices are heard.
We are at time.
Thank you. Please, deputies, I have the skills and experience. Please vote for me.
Thank you very much. Right, friends. Now it is over to you, an opportunity to ask questions. Please put your hands up. Yes. Okay, so we will take Paul Hart first.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
I was very unhappy with the attitude taken towards the Met Police by the previous Vice President. What would be your attitude to the Met Police in getting them to treat equally between protesters and us?
Thank you, Paul. Very interesting. So I think we have, at the moment, we have honorary officers who meet with the Met Police, where there is a vacancy for that division. I think I have to mention at this point that I have transferable skills. I may not have been actively involved in the Security, Resilience and Cohesion Division, but I have worked on interfaith and I have trained police in Leicester with a charity there. So I have worked really hard at engagement. We need to keep up the conversations. I'm not here to criticise, sorry, Paul, what has gone before. I am looking forward at the future. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Just looking for indications of questions in the room.
Deborah.
There was one. Okay, we'll go online to Ruth and then to Deborah.
Hello. Ruth Friedman, Pinner United Synagogue. Sheila, we can all see how much relevant experience you have as a Vice President, Senior Vice President, Chair of the Regional Council, and of course all the other communal work that you put your time to. If you were elected as Vice President and were handed the dare I say, poison chalice of security, resilience and cohesion. What might be your plans for that division?
Thank you, Ruth. Very, very, and I wish your arm better. Ruth's had an operation recently. So, Ruth, I am prepared to work with the President, the Honorary Officers team. It's my understanding that portfolios could be moved around so that we are all working as part of the team to show our strengths to come together to support the board. So I don't see necessarily that I would have to slot right in to the role that has been vacated. Phil knows my strengths. We've had conversations. There are ways we could work this, that my transferable skills of running 2 other divisions would work with the SRC. So thank you. Sorry.
Going to the question in the room to Deborah and then to Debbie. A dynamic duo of Debbies. Deborah and then Debbie.
Sorry, Deborah, does she speak from here? Go on.
Yeah, go for that, yeah. Sorry, thanks, you.
Hi, Deborah Cohen, Belsize Square Synagogue. I just wanted to ask you, this is a huge, big portfolio, and you have in the room and online an embarrassment of riches of people with lots of expertise. You have senior people, I'm looking at some ex-NHS director of HR, etc. How would you make use of this expertise, which kind of hasn't really been tapped into up to now?
Thank you, Deborah. Are you specifically talking about the SRC, Deborah, or you are? Okay, so I know, again, been elements within the group that haven't felt that they've been valued. So we need to listen. We need to have a rethink about this at a first meeting. I believe if that was a division to take, we need to have people explain to me exactly what they would like to be involved in. I know you yourself have done so much work with the Social Justice Committee that you needed more support. So we need to engage. My PhD is in communication, and we need to talk to people, to work out people with common interests and how we can work together so everybody feels valued. We're all here for a purpose. We didn't give our Sunday afternoons to sit and sleep. We have a young person, Harry, so chuffed that you're here today, who's excited what he's hearing, and I hope everybody here will be excited about the work the board does. Thank you.
Debbie, over to you.
Debbie Barnett, Dorman's Masorti Synagogue. You talked a lot about your experience and how you may not end up with the SRC portfolio, but I'm sure you must have considered it along with all the other portfolios that you might have. So what do you see as the challenges of that, and what would you hope to achieve?
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful for that opportunity to finish up with. The most important thing we do is we're here to protect and defend the United Kingdom Jewish community against anti-Semitism, against all threats, against our security, how we need to feel free to walk in a street, how I can get into a Starbucks wearing a mug and not one worry that I haven't put my scarf over it, and that happened. We need to be proud, be Jews, and we're all working together in one portfolio. We're not in a silo. There are elements of anti-Semitism is fought through education, with the police, the engagement. We have to have so much work together, not just think, oh, I'm just in this division, I don't have to worry about interfaith, I don't have to worry about education. It's not true. We all need to work together. From whatever community you come from, we need unity on this board. Karen is an amazing person. We will all work together, whatever the outcome of this election. I'm not walking away. I didn't walk away. This is my 4th campaign that I've stood for election, and I only hope that I can have your support today. Thank you. And my phone's ringing. And it's my daughter, Erica. She'll have to wait. Okay.
Thank you very much. We've got Sylvia online. If anyone else, either online or in person, would like to come to the microphone or raise your hand online, please do. But it's over to you, Sylvia.
Gee, what have you done? Oh, okay, I'm here.
Sylvia, hi.
Right, hi. I just want to say, Sheila, that I think you are the lady for the job. I think what you've done so far has been fantastic. I hope you will carry on with your work. I understand that we have become a very diverse community. I understand that. but I also know, which nobody's going to like, that to keep Yisrael high, which we all have to do, because if we don't, it's going to be Ochaveh in Israel. We have to have a certain category of living, and I hope that you will support it. And that's all I'm saying. Thank you very much.
100%. Thank you. Thank you. We're all happy, not happy, we're all proud to be Zionist Jews in as much as we represent a community who are so grateful that we have Israel there. And please God, there should be peace. Please God, that there should be, the fighting should stop, and we would all carry on supporting Israel to defend herself, to be proud Zionists in understanding of that's what it means. Okay, thank you.
Yes, we've got a question, I think, coming up in the room. Any other questions, either in person or online, please make yourselves known. Over to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Robert Goldstein. I haven't spoken before. I'm a representative for the United Synagogue. My question to you is, well, the statement is that I think our relations with the Muslim community are extremely important. And I just wonder if you could make any comment about what you can bring in terms of your contacts with the Muslim community.
Thank you. On a personal level, I work with the Muslim community in the East Midlands doing education. They're very supportive. I'm on the SACRE, the Council for RE in Cumbria. I work with the Muslim representative in Cumbria. I have volunteered to go into schools with Muslim colleagues to run joint sessions so as school children get the message that we're happy to work together and the similarities between us. You know, I have a lot of support from that community and what we do.
Thank you very much. Well, we've got, I think, a final slot if anyone wants to ask a question. Is there anyone online or in person who'd like to quick-fire question and quick-fire answer? If not...
Can I just say the questioning seemed to go on much longer than the actual speech. But there we go, so that's fine. Okay.
Is there anything...
That was good point, thank you. So anyway, I hope I'll do my best if you vote for me, I hope. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sheila. Thank you very much. We'll now have a bit of a reset as we bring our second candidate out, Karen, to speak to us. So please bear with us. And welcome, Karen. Karen, I think you heard that the way it works, up to 5 minutes speaking and then 5 minutes of questions. The clock will be stopped when questions are being asked to give you the full 5 minutes overall to answer questions. And anytime you're ready, let's kick off.
Thank you, Phil. Good afternoon, fellow deputies. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you about my candidacy for Board Vice President at this challenging time. Before I do this, I really want to thank you for the kindness all of you have shown me in accepting me as one of 2 independent plenary chairs. That was quite an ask, for exactly the same reasons as my candidacy for Vice President is quite an ask. But many of you have said that I've chaired fairly but firmly, ensuring that all deputies are heard. I pledge to you now that those are the values that will drive my approach to the role of VP. In these few minutes, I'm going to try and do 3 things. Firstly, to lay out what I see as the key challenges we face as Jews in Britain now, in terms of the external environment and the board's commitment to advocacy, democracy, and community. Secondly, while recognising that it is the President's prerogative to switch portfolios as he sees fit, to look at the security, resilience, and cohesion priorities at this time and how I would address them. And thirdly, to show how my combination of skills, expertise, and cross-communal experience within and beyond the board would allow me to hit the ground running from day one, if elected as your Vice President. We meet at a time when there is once again war in the Middle East. a time when we really need to come together as a community, even as events in Israel have the potential to polarize our community as can no other issue. The board has a historical mission in the UK to represent the many splendid phenomenon that is the British Jewish community, both within and beyond the metropolitan centres. We can only do that if we recognise and celebrate the diversity within our community, embracing our different perspectives, because it is only if we do that that we can arrive at a deeper understanding of the issues at stake. We cannot do that if we silence dissent. We must find a way of holding these discussions to identify where the centre of gravity lies on key issues, while at the same time allowing our strong presidential, vice presidential and professional team to lead. With regard to priorities within the SRC division, my approach will be guided by three things. Recognition for the huge amount of work put in by Andrew Gilbert, whose track record on fighting anti-Semitism, working with the Metropolitan Police, supporting interfaith initiatives, tackling the BBC, etc., speaks for itself. A commitment to maintaining the work and leadership of Judith Prinsley and other deeply committed deputies within the division with expertise in so many critical areas of SRC work, and a rock-solid commitment to our religious freedoms, protecting and defending our right to Brit Milah, Shechita, and other core elements critical to how we manifest our Jewish identity. I don't want to repeat priorities I've laid out in my manifesto. Deputies who've read it will know that my priorities include laser-like focus on fighting anti-Semitism, including on policing, security, healthcare and education issues, robust engagement with the BBC and others in relation to anti-Semitism in culture, media and sport, interfaith and workplace initiatives, supporting the Union of Jewish Students' work on campus in line with their priorities, and building cohesion within the British Jewish community to demonstrate that there is so much more that unites us than divides us, and that we are at our most effective when we work together. Why me? Right now, in a highly polarized moment, our community needs a bridge builder leader. I'm an experienced community leader with genuine cross-communal credentials who spent most of my life in the Orthodox community and held leadership roles in progressive Judaism. I'm a public policy professional, including a senior policy advisor in the world's second largest NGO, and have significant negotiation experience, both as a trade union negotiator and as one of the 5-member leadership team in the complex cross-communal negotiations that brought about the recent merger of Reform and Liberal Judaism. I'm a proud Zionist with family in Israel and the mother of a daughter whom, about a year ago, thought she was going to a birthday party in New York, but found when she arrived, the guests were being asked to create "From the River to the Sea" placards for a protest due to take place the next day. That was one of those collision moments where emotional and intellectual, parental, political, and communal leadership responsibilities really hit home. I also have experience on the board's Constitution Committee and on 2 of the 3 divisions, and have earned your trust as a firm but fair independent chair. In recent weeks, I've had the privilege of talking to and listening to a wide range of deputies.
I'm going to have to ask you to just wrap.
Okay. We are not the board of deputies of Haredi Jews, Orthodox Jews, Masorti or progressive Jews. We are the board of deputies of British Jews. I urge you to vote for the person who you think is the strongest person the board needs at this time. And I would like to ask you to help me to represent you so that together we can build a Britain that's a great place for us to live and work as Jews. Not just in peace and security.
End the time there, I'm afraid, Karen. Thank you very much. That was a great, thank you very much for your presentation.
Okay.
We're going to move now to Q&A. So deputies either in the room come to the side over here, or indicate that you'd like to ask a question online. Come on up. Robert Stone.
Sorry to talk for a third time. I'm irrepressible. You mentioned bridge building. You have been the Liberal Jewish representative on the Jewish Leadership Council, and you talked about bridge building and so on. What skills do you have to ensure that in these critical times, the Jewish community has a coherent response to what's going on. We have so many divisions within each community, within each synagogue, between the Jews. We've got the Jewish Leadership Council, we've got United Synagogue, we've now got Reform. What can you do to ensure there's a coherence in the way we deal with these problems, not just in the Board of Deputies?
Over to you, Karen.
You want me to go one by one, yes?
Yeah,
okay.
one by one.
Thank you, Robert. I think the answer to that is to balance our ability to talk with our ability to listen. I think that's the thing that's really, really crucial. I also want to say that while I was chair of LJ, it was my job to go around different communities, and I have Orthodox family members, so I've also been in Orthodox synagogues. I urge you to remember that it's very easy to think that, oh, all the progressives think like this on Israel, and oh, all the Orthodox think like that. My experience is within each and every community, you have 180 degrees worth of the full span of opinions. We need to listen to each other and hold those discussions within the board so that we can speak with authority, integrity, and as proper mandate from our people when we go into the world and fight our fights.
Thank you, Karen. We'll go to Paul Hart online, then we've got the double Deborah dynamic duo. Paul, over to you.
I think it's only fair that I ask you the same question as I did with Sheila. As previously stated, I wasn't happy with the way that the previous Vice President dealt with the Met Police. I don't think he dealt with them strongly enough. Would you make any changes, or what would you do?
Over to you, Karen.
I need to come into this position and listen. I need to listen to Judith. I need to study what's been done. I need to talk to the entire top team before I start telling you what I will and won't do. What I will say is this: it's very clear to me that the board works on the ball, publicly, with things that we can see them doing, and it works off the ball, in private, on the phone. Those are the relationships that are really, really important. I would step in and find out how those dynamics are working before I sought to mess with them, but I would like to assure you, Paul, that the entire fighting anti-Semitism agenda is safe in my hands.
Thank you, Karen. Deborah Cohen.
Deborah Cohen, Belsize Square, like Robert, sorry for speaking again, but it's the same question that I asked Sheila, which is that the SRC portfolio is really huge, and you have an embarrassment of riches in the membership, here in the room, online, who have skills that you could tap into to use, and they may not be members of the division. How would you make use of those skills in the work that you were doing? And I gave an example before of a senior person, retired director of HR in the NHS, who could have been incorporated into the work that was done with the various parties about the anti-Semitism in the NHS.
Karen.
An important question, thank you. One of the things I've really learned in the past 2 or 3 weeks is the richness that we have amongst our deputies. Talking and, more important, listening to all of our deputies. We have so much experience. It's absolutely vital that we find a way to harness that, and that's something that I want to do. But equally, I know I need to do that by finding out from the entire professional and presidential leadership team, where are the skills, who are the people. Meanwhile, I want to tell you, I am not Nick Bottom the Weaver in A Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm not going to be, oh, I want that part, oh, I can do that, oh, I can do that too. That's not how I am. There will be some there will be some meetings where you may not want to send me in as your person, where you may feel we've got stronger people. We have an embarrassment of riches within the leadership team. Sometimes it will be me, sometimes it won't, and I want you all to know I'm secure enough to know when it won't be me, and I will be the first person to say, this is a meeting for somebody else. Do it.
Thank you very much. Debbie Barnett.
In previous interview situations, we've always asked all candidates the same question. So what do you see as the main challenges of the SRC role, and what would you hope to achieve?
I've tried to lay that out in my manifesto. I think the most important thing is to try and keep track of how fast the environment is moving. What's happened over the weekend is going to radically change how everybody thinks about the Jewish community and thinks about their meetings when they go into meetings with the Jewish leadership community. The challenge of the SRC brief is that it's huge, but it has a certain integrity. I would want to keep it together so that we found a way of making sure that we have an integrity in the way that we address all of these issues. But as we address each and individual one, we use the right person for the job.
Thank you very much. We have, I think, 3 questions online. We'll see if we can get through them all. Sylvia first, Sylvia Hartman.
Oh, that's me. Yes, okay. I'll put my video on. Okay. I'm not in video mood, you see. Okay. Hashem said I could be on this meeting because we had to get our daughter back to the airport because her husband died, and which Rabbi you knew about, and sadly we had to sort all that out. But what is your attitude towards the Orthodox end of Israel? How will you deal with that which many of us believe must be the way forward? I personally, which many people won't think, this is unfortunately here because we, us,
5
Jews,
seconds, Sylvia.
are so diverse. How are you going to stop that?
Thank you very much, Sylvia. Over to you, Karen.
Thank you, first of all, to wish you a relative long life, or as my rabbi taught us to say, I wish you strength and happy memories. I'm not. It's entirely possible I didn't understand the question right. So that's always a possibility. In which case, somebody else will tell me what it meant. As I said, just as the British Jewish community is a many splendid things, so is Israel. So much of which to be proud. And one or two phenomenon that our president quoted as said they were a stain on the Zionist project. We need to call out certain bits of behaviour when we see it. When we see violence with impunity, if we are not happy, we need to call it out. But we need to do that in a way that makes sure that we're doing that with the backing of our deputies. And so it's having those discussions and doing it while remembering that we also need to try and keep our own vision of life, of Israel being a light to the nations.
Thank you very much. Who have we got next? I'm trying to see. Julian Berman online.
Hi, Karen. As in my cross-community role in Hertfordshire, I recognise and thank you for your observation that our individual communities, whether progressive, orthodox or other, really are incredibly diverse in their individual capacities, and each community sort of has that 180-degree sort of view across all of sort of the issues that impact our communities. So I welcome your recognition of that. My question for you really comes down to how do you see the role of the HOs developing, particularly with regards to the fact that many members, many deputies have not always felt that the HOs listen properly to the individual deputies and hear deputy concerns fully? Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Karen.
Thank you, Julian, for your question. As I've said before, I've spent the last 3 weeks doing a bit of talking, but quite a lot of listening. And the expertise amongst our deputies is truly humbling. I think listening is absolutely crucial, and we need to create more and more fora where we can listen. I would also say, though, to all of you that I think it's important that having elected a talented leadership team, that we also allow them to lead. It's getting the blend right between listening and allowing our leadership to lead that is the real challenge.
Thank you very much, Karen. That ends your time. And that ends the hustings. No, we're out of time. Thank you very much. So I don't know if you want to gather anything back, but otherwise, Sheila and Karen, you're welcome to sit down. Thank you very much. Andrew, can you allow Sheila back in? It's gone together. We'll just wait till she returns to the room. Brilliant. Welcome back, Sheila. as you've seen, we have two excellent candidates, and I'll just give you a bit of instruction about how the voting is going to take place. The ballot for vice presidential election will open at 4 p.m. today and close 48 hours later at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. So you might be a vote early, vote often, or a leave it to the last moment, really chew over the two manifestos before you, but that's the period of time within which you will have the opportunity to cast your vote online. The way it will work is a voting link will be sent to all eligible voters when the ballot opens at 4 p.m. and it will come from Choice Voting. Get involved at choicevoting.co.uk, in fact. So do check your spam if you haven't received it. It may just have gotten into there, but that is the email address to look out for at 4 p.m. Results are going to be announced on Tuesday evening. The exact timing is a bit Purim dependent, depending on how much we've drunk. We don't want to confuse the candidates in that basis, but we'll, as soon as we're in a position to make that announcement, we will be doing so. I also just want to thank Judith Princely for stepping in over the last few months. And being a fantastic colleague, and we're delighted that Judith will be staying with us as a vice chair. You can thank me, but this.
No, but I just wanted to. Is it all right?
Yeah, go for it.
No, all right. Oh, I'll do it
then.
Oh. Hello. I just wanted to say it's been, on a personal note, it's been unbelievably special. To be getting to know deputies more. We've got a fantastic top table. I just have to say that. And also we've got an amazing professional staff who are, Toby's hiding over there, who I didn't really work with beforehand. And it's not just, I always say this because he's a northerner, but he has been absolutely amazing. And there's Sarah and Andrew Lee. How I accidentally missed anybody out who's here. But, and the other people, I'm scared of missing anybody out. But, I'm going to come to Michael. I'm going to leave the grandpa, the new grandpa, to the end, not purposely, but you know we've got Sarah. I've worked with Joe Crossley. We've got Noah. And David Robinson. We are spoilt. But what's been great, because I haven't ever actually worked with a team of all predominantly males, and it was amazing. And I really enjoyed it. I won't, as an ex-drama teacher, I won't reveal the lovely banter, but I felt very included. And that's what I want to say. I felt really, it's been an amazing privilege. So I just want to, and Michael, Grandpa Michael, I don't know what you're known as, Saba, we've had lots of joy. And obviously, Phil, you've been amazing. I've really enjoyed it. And also Adrian, they're in no order, please. Adrian, and a fellow northerner over there, Jeremy, and last but not least, Ben. So I just want to say a big thank you.
Thank you, Judith.
Please stay.
Just in closing, and I'll be very brief. First of all, thank you to our two excellent candidates once again. Let's give them both a round of applause. An embarrassment of riches. Of course, as I began, I will end. Our thoughts are very much in the Middle East at the moment, and unfortunately, since I spoke, the death toll from that attack in Bet Shemesh has gone up to 9, and our thoughts are and remain with the victims and their families, and we hope that this will be brought to a speedy conclusion, but also we hope that it will end in a more peaceful, secure, and free Middle East. Just in terms of concluding, all that leaves me to do is wish you Purim Sameach. Remember the excellent candidates, and at 4 p.m. onwards, vote, baby, vote. Thank you.